For me, ultra depth is really part of everyday life because it's establishing a deep, meaningful working relationship with a very important part of you.
Ultra depth is safe and effective. I think the effectiveness of it would determine on each individual's intention and desire.
Experience deep states that were in one way very new to me, but in another way were states that I had experienced every day of my life. And what I found unique about ultra depth is it took something that's so simple and common and so everyday that's a part of us and put it together in a very specific, powerful combination that's usable.
It's about letting go, giving in, and relaxing. And then knowing that what comes from that is truly for your highest good.
Ultra depth is a phenomenal tool for stress management.
Hello, my name is James Ramey, and I would personally like to welcome you to the DVD Ultra Depth Hypnosis in-Home Study course. Ultra Depth has been called by accepted authorities in hypnosis as the most astounding and little-known discovery of our time. Ultra Depth is a tool that actually facilitates direct and powerful communication with our higher selves, what we refer to as the subconscious part of our mind. During this training, you will gain a new and different understanding of the role of subconscious in our daily lives. You will begin to know the potential subconscious has to partner with us to achieve powerful healing, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Ultra depth was first discovered in the mid-1960s by Walter Secord of Blackwood, New Jersey, while working with his first assistant, Mary Borghese. There, at his Institute of Relaxation, later worked with his partner, Sarah Zane. While teaching classes in hypnosis, they continued to make profound discoveries in the human mind and brain. Much of his and Sarah's work was validated by the medical physicians Drs. Dolman and Marco of Philadelphia. What Walter called ultra depth, we now refer to as the Secord state in his honor. Walter never actually taught ultra depth, he just demonstrated it with Sarah. As Walter's apprentice for over 7 years, it was left to me to create a system for reproducing the 4 major levels of depth. In August of 1997, Walter granted his only seal of approval to my work that he and I had started over 30 years ago. Since that time, in partnership with Kimberly Miles, the work has been refined through practice, integrated into the current training. In more than a decade, powerful and effective therapeutic applications were developed. Please approach this training with an open mind and without any of the prejudices you may have acquired from previous trainings. You will be taught powerful and focused techniques to incorporate into your practice. These oriented tools will yield powerful results that are beyond what you have experienced before. It is my belief that ultra depth goes beyond traditional hypnosis. it has the potential to create major and positive shifts in our consciousness and awareness in the process of life and living. I would go even as far to suggest that working with subconscious is a backdoor to world peace. When we understand and experience the true nature of our subconscious, we will begin to treat ourselves and our neighbors with honor, integrity, dignity, and respect. Thank you for joining me on this remarkable and timely journey. One of the first things I want to talk about is the human mind and the various levels of it. Most of us think of ourselves as the most powerful part of us. However, there's elements to our mind. We have the conscious, our subconscious, and of course, the unconscious or the brain. To me, all of our habits and behaviors are stored in the brain. Learn from actions of the conscious mind once we go through what I call a shift. I'll explain that in a moment. First of all, let's talk about the conscious mind. Who really is the conscious mind? I'm the conscious mind. I'm the one who's speaking, have a job, have friends. I do things, play games, watch television, go to the movies, drive a car. But who is subconscious? What is the subconscious mind? Many of us refer to the subconscious as the higher self, as our gut instinct, as this part of us that, well, let's say that many of the professional systems such as psychology and so forth seem to blend the conscious and the unconscious together. In my experience, there's a separation. First of all, the conscious and the subconscious is not a physical thing. We have a body. There's something that operates that. What operates it, we all know, is the brain. Now, I know that by stimulating certain parts of the brain, we could have certain things take place, such as past memories come up, emotions come up. And we say, well, emotions, what are emotions? Once we have an emotion to a certain stimuli, what we then have is something is recorded in the brain. That is part of this memory process. As we go through life, different elements that we need to function with will take hold, will energize, in a sense. When we wake up in the morning and we're getting ready to go to work, we have certain things we want to do. We go through this process, most of the time not aware we have another part of us functioning along with us for our betterment, for our highest good, helping us throughout the day. Many of us ignore that part of us. Many times after we get some advice, we have this intuitive hit, this gut instinct, we dismiss it. Afterwards, we're kind of kicking ourselves in the seat of our pants. So there's a separation here between something. The conscious, who I am at this moment, has a certain amount of information. We have a certain amount of experience. We draw on things that are recorded in the brain. As we go throughout our day and we have these other feelings, these other things that come up to us in a form, to me, as guidance, this is coming from our subconscious. Some people refer to it as the all-knowing part of us. Now, it doesn't seem to take over the life, but what it does is help with the life. Helps to make it more fuller, more richer, benefits us in many ways. And those who have these experiences where we have this fleeting moments of intuition or gut instinct come up and and afterwards we were kicking ourselves because we ignored it, what were we ignoring? It's very important to understand how this makeup all came to be. When we're first born, we come into the world as subconscious and the brain. Subconscious is that child from infancy to a certain age. Subconscious is learning. Children are subconscious. It's Dr. Preston who had said that between the age of 5 and 12 is when we make this shift. And what he was talking about is the shift between the conscious and subconscious. What happens is this conscious, what we call the shell in ultra depth, begins to form. And somewhere between the age of 5 and 12, the average person, average meaning the majority of people, switch. The role changes. The brain, in the meantime, has been absorbing information indiscriminately. Whenever there is a similar stimulus, that information is replayed. Even if it is not exact information, like I said, similar, the brain will replay this. When this occurs, this is where we have our habits, our behaviors. For example, those who smoke cigarettes. I know because I used to be a smoker for many years. Anything that is similar to a time when you picked up the cigarette, put it in your mouth and lit it, anything, any kind of stimulus that is similar, once it occurs, the same behavior will happen. This happens usually without the awareness of the conscious mind. I know because I had the experience many times, and I caught myself doing this, driving a car, and all of a sudden I'm reaching for a pack of cigarettes. I had just put out a cigarette. Why am I reaching for the pack of cigarettes, getting ready to tap another one out? One time I caught something. I passed a billboard. On the billboard happened to be a man on a horse. And most of you would say, ah, yes, it refers to the Marlboro Man. But it wasn't a commercial about Marlboro. It happened to be a Ford Bronco commercial. My brain, which sees everything because of the input coming into the eyes, picked up this man on the horse. It was similar to the Marlboro Man. So what happened? The brain then, from memory, caused me to function and open up and tap out another cigarette. I began to observe more behavior from me and others. And I learned something, that there's something else beyond the conscious that is like programs running. So now I refer to the brain as the CPU for the body. Information that is up here gets played whenever there's a similar stimulus. The brain houses tremendous amounts of information, but that's not the only place that information is stored. A lot of information is stored throughout the cells of the body, the entire body. This information sometimes will play again. When the brain is looking for something to relate to certain stimuli, it doesn't always come from information directly in the brain. It can be information stored in one of the bones in the big toe. The way the brain works is very much like a computer, very much like that central processing unit. We react and respond to that. Our likes, our dislikes, we, the conscious. However, sometimes we get something, this feeling, and many times that's the way subconscious communicates to the conscious, through feelings. Many times it's trying to tell us that what we're feeling is not necessarily fact, and is trying to give us different information. As we move through life and reach this age between 5 and 12, sometimes there are those of us who shift before the age of 5. They develop less coping skills. They're unable to handle stress as well. Sometimes they even have some physical ailments that we see take place. Sometimes it affects the physical body. Sometimes it only affects the emotions. Sometimes it affects the mental processing. There are those also who shift sometimes much later than the age of 12. These people, we refer to many of them as having special talents, they're gifted, special abilities. We've seen this in a lot of our research. We begin to categorize and catalog these things. And we've learned what the conscious really is. The conscious is formed because of fears and false beliefs. What happens, this shell is what takes over the life once the shift takes place. Many times it's very difficult for subconscious to get through to the conscious shell. Sometimes through dreams, metaphoric dreams, tries to communicate with us. Sometimes it's through our feelings, and sometimes it's that still small voice within. This part of us really truly loves us, understands what it's like in the physical because it operated in the physical at one time, knows what limitations we have, understands them, and is very compassionate about working with us, helping us, so that we can have a more fruitful life. Subconscious is very important to each and every one of us. We need to understand more about subconscious. As we go through life and we begin to, we use the term mature, what seems to happen is that the shell with some of us begins to thin, soften, very much like the shell of a chicken, the egg. When the egg is fertile, the shell is very soft, very pliable. When it is not fertile, it's very brittle, very hard. Things cannot penetrate it. And the shell, with us humans, many times gets in our own way. We have a goal we want to achieve, and because of our fears that we programmed into the brain, our false beliefs, ends up being an obstacle for us. It takes some work to get through. We have found ways to do this, to soften this shell. Through ultra depth, we have found some answers. As we mature, the three elements of us, the subconscious, the brain, and the conscious, work together. Subconscious can actually reprogram the brain, the programs that have been pre-installed, the programs that through repeated behavior have been installed, can be reprogrammed, can be changed. This can improve the behavior or the outcome of the behavior that conscious is performing. As you see here with these three circles, subconscious is the largest circle. To me, I'm trying to say it's the vastness. Conscious, much smaller. And the reason why I'm denoting that the brain is a circle is because of the emptiness. It is unconscious, has no awareness. It only responds to stimuli and plays programs. Now, some of the programs were pre-installed at the time of conception and continue to install throughout the development of the fetus. As the child begins to grow through different things it learns, more programs are added. Our system here on this planet enables a lot of these programs, many of them unnecessary, to actually affect behavior of the conscious person. There are ways, and as we go through this training, I'll show you what can be done to help soften the shell so that subconscious can get through. The brain, constantly functioning, all during waking and sleeping, affects the conscious mind. Subconscious can reprogram the brain, can communicate with the conscious. It's important to understand that anything that subconscious is advising us of is truly for our highest good. Is really working to benefit us. In ultra depth, we deal with all three parts. It's very important to understand what part does what. I'd like to now speak about the most important part of the mind. To me, it's subconscious. Subconscious has not received the credit it really due, nor has it received the notoriety it deserves. Most people really don't understand who subconscious is. I don't care what profession or walk of life they come from. Most just really don't understand who we are and how powerful we really are. There's a part of us that is so loving, so caring. That part of us, subconscious, takes care of us many times. When we're driving a car over a distance, and we start thinking about, different things, and we focus our mind elsewhere. But some of us, we find that the road even seems to disappear. And we drive on, they say, automatic. Clinically, it's called highway hypnosis. But what's actually taking place here? Many of us continue to drive extremely safely for very long distances. Some of us even come up the traffic lights, stop at the light, continue on. I know several who've told me stories about how they leave their place in the morning, their home, to go to work. Next thing they know, they're at work. They don't recall the turns, the traffic lights, not a scratch on the car. Never got stopped by a police officer for speeding. Well, then who was driving? Well, it's certainly not the brain. Because the brain, all it can do is just run programs and respond to different stimuli. Can it make a decision? Can it make a choice? Can it decide to slow down or speed up the vehicle? Can the brain decide to take a different route? How many of you have ever found this happening with you, where you've been driving over a period of time, over a distance, and all of a sudden you realize for some time you were not aware of the road? So who was driving? Who was taking care of you? How about how many times have maybe you been working on a project or something and maybe cut yourself and was not aware of it until the project was over? Well, what happened to that discomfort? Why was that removed? You completed the project. There's different times subconscious will kick in for us. Does many things, works with all the systems of the body by adjusting the different programs in the brain that run the body. Who determines what to do for digestion? You put on into your body many different elements when you're eating. Who knows what to do? Yes, the brain comes with a pre-installed program. But then as we grow older, we start changing a lot of things. So who makes all these adjustments? There's times with some individuals that all of a sudden they have this knowing on a subject that there's no way that they could have picked that up from something that was read, something that was told, or something that was experienced. But they know it as fact. Where does that come from? How do they know these things? Look at all these great inventors throughout time. Many of them would take a nap, so history says. Some of them would go into a meditative state. When they would come out of these things, they'd have solutions to the problems that they were encountering. Where did the solutions come from? Conscious had a problem, had an obstacle. They let go. When they came up or awoken, they had the solution. Edgar Cayce, the great American sleeping prophet, he was one of the first here in this country that we know of that was able to do this. He helped many people heal from different elements because he would go into a sleep-like state, as it is written, and from the state he was able to talk, to communicate. And the solutions were written down and then given to these people. Edgar Cayce's subconscious helped these people. Today, we have more people who are like this. But it's not really fully understanding of where it's coming from. However, Edgar Cayce himself understood. He himself said, what comes from me comes from my subconscious, not from any knowledge I have. So who is subconscious? It's not physical. Have you ever had the experience of having an emotion that was more profound than what you normally would experience? A very deep feeling of joy, a very deep feeling of sadness, a very deep feeling of happiness, a very strong knowing. Where's that coming from? This is you. This is who you truly are. This is subconscious. Subconscious was first in the life. Look at that baby, that infant. You as a parent, look at that child. Look into its eyes.